Alright, let's be honest. Movies, TV shows, and video games have introduced some wild fictional drugs. From substances that grant superpowers to those that turn people into mindless zombies, these make the real world's problems look like child's play. Today, we're counting down 10 fictional drugs we're actually glad don't exist. Because let's face it, if they were real, society would have collapsed faster than a sci-fi dystopia. So buckle up, because things are about to get trippy. 10. Slo-Mo. Dredd. This drug gives users 1% of their normal perception, essentially slowing their surroundings to a crawl. All the while, it fills them with the sense of euphoria common among narcotics. Considering how miserable the city is, many people would rather waste the day away with this substance. That demand propels its supplier, Madeline. Mama. Madrigal, to unofficial royalty. She uses her leverage to build a vast criminal organization. A 200-story apartment complex is completely under her control. She even has a few judges, elite officers spearheading the police force, in her pocket. All this fortune is possible through Slo-Mo. The irony is that Judge Dredd takes her out with a dose. Just imagine the chaos if this drug existed in real life. People would be so absorbed in their slow-motion dream world that they'd forget to, actually function. Traffic accidents, missed deadlines, and crime bosses running entire cities? Yeah, no thanks. 9. Nuke. RoboCop 2. This little liquid comes in several colors: red ramrod, white noise, black thunder, and blue velvet. Each of them brings a different level of high. Pioneering this substance lets Arcane, the city's newest drug lord, monopolize the market. Granted, Nuke doesn't do much to distinguish itself from other opioids, but it's just a symptom. This merchandise is systematic of a bigger problem: the city. RoboCop's version of Detroit is a glorified garbage dump. Refuse litters every corner, practically waiting for passers-by to pick it up. People could easily use these materials to make Nuke. The drug is notoriously simple to synthesize with everyday items. As such, the city unknowingly provides a never-ending supply of ingredients to those who know the formula, making Nuke nearly impossible to eradicate. One man's trash is another man's toxic treasure. 8. Venom. Batman franchise. Bane is one of Batman's most imposing foes. Although he has a cunning mind, most of his physical threat stems from his supply of venom. This super steroid amplifies the user's strength and muscle mass. By simply turning a dial, Bane pumps the stuff through his veins, boosting his body to Herculean levels. The idea of such unhinged muscleheads on a grand scale is chilling, but this steroid shares a crippling similarity with its peers. Namely, Venom is addictive. Bane becomes so dependent on the liquid that he refuses to fight the Dark Knight without it. Batman Beyond, 1999 to 2001, takes that concept further by synthesizing a Venom patch. The supplier then passes these patches out to high school athletes. Sure, they succeed at sports, but they're also totally subservient to the villain and violent once they get their fix. Imagine a world where bodybuilders, soldiers, or even your neighbor Steve had access to this stuff. Society wouldn't survive the gym wars. 7. Compound V. The Boys. Manufactured by Vought International, this substance gives godlike powers to anyone who ingests it. The pharmaceutical company essentially creates its own superheroes, giving it a stranglehold on the populace. If people don't buy into the corporate marketing, then they likely live in fear of the costumed thugs at the center. The only thing scarier is the drug itself. Compound V is a recipe for disaster. Users never know which powers they'll get, but most abilities are enough to slaughter innocents. For that reason, it's extremely dangerous in the wrong hands. The stuff could give heat vision to a gangbanger or mind control to a terrorist. The Boys even explores these outcomes in a predictably horrific fashion. With Compound V on the streets, no one is safe. 6. Melange. Spice. Dune franchise. It enhances users in virtually every respect, lengthening lifespans, boosting energy, and strengthening awareness. The latter perk could even expand to grant precognition. For those reasons, Melange is practically a way of life, ensuring space travelers can safely navigate the obstacles between planets. Such a standardized substance must be safe, right? Well, not quite. Once you dabble in Melange, it's nearly impossible to quit. The fact that society basically requires it means that anyone without a fix is automatically disadvantaged. That necessity walks hand in hand with the drug's natural dangers. Spice withdrawal can prove fatal. Yes, this substance worms its way into your system so deeply that you literally die without it. A steady supply isn't guaranteed since spice comes from the hostile planet Arrakis. Why take such a deadly risk? 5. Soma. Brave New World. The opiate of the masses fills users with a happy tranquility. People need that relief to get through the daily grind. As such, the drug becomes so integral to their routine that it replaces religion and alcohol. Everyone is peaceful and happy with Soma. That's the problem. This drug basically turns people into vegetables. Dulling their attitudes also saps their initiative, meaning they don't have the drive to create, pursue anything, or better themselves. That alone runs counter to the human condition, but it's not the worst part. Soma also mutes your morality. You have no sense of right and wrong. Your best friend could be unalived, yet you wouldn't lift a finger to help. All these effects are why the world state promotes Soma so heavily. Its agents can do whatever they want to the populace without the slightest resistance. 4. NHC-10. One Piece. Nevertheless, NHC-10 pollutes the 7 seas thanks to Caesar Clown. The crazed chemist complements his comedic appearance with a substance-inducing laughter. It fills users with such overwhelming enjoyment that they can't help but chuckle. That said, the enjoyment comes at a cost. The detriments of NHC-10 far outweigh the benefits. The chief side effect is crushing pain, which can evolve into vomiting blood and loss of motor function. By the end, users can barely move on their own, let alone stand. Any logical person would stop after that, but withdrawal is worse. On top of retaining the prior pain, addicts respond to shortages with hostility. They then direct that hostility toward hallucinations, attacking their friends as a result. The disproportionate number of drawbacks makes NHC-10 seem like a sick joke. That's probably no accident, considering the clown at the center. 3. Ketracel-White. Star Trek, Deep Space Nine. Drug addiction can be tough to overcome, but forcing that addiction onto someone is especially cruel. The Jem'Hadar understand that cruelty all too well. They come courtesy of a conglomeration of species called the Dominion, and they have one purpose: fight their master's enemies. The only fuel they need for that mission is Ketracel-White. This milky liquid is more than just their food, though. The Jem'Hadar need Ketracel-White. The Dominion engineers them to be dependent on the drug. On top of needing the temporary sense of calm, these hardy troops lack the enzymes needed to survive. The White provides those enzymes, but the soldiers only get it if they obey their creators. If the Dominion sends them on a suicide mission, then they must do it. To say this practice is unethical is an understatement. Because of that, the Jem'Hadar are a tragic blight on the Star Trek universe. 2. Shimmer. Arcane. The League of Legends scientist distills a rare flower into a would-be cure for his dying daughter. The goal is to boost the body's physical properties to enable rapid regeneration. Unfortunately, it doesn't take long for a crime boss to distribute the miracle drug to all of Piltover. On top of improving his underworld standing, it soon floods the city's poor districts. Such widespread addiction to a wild card medicine is a volatile combination. The legions of addicts are unable to function, instead focused solely on their next fix. You can tell who they are from the otherworldly deformities covering their bodies, but these blemishes herald a more monstrous form. People who ingest too much shimmer can turn into bestial creatures brimming with muscle and aggression. That's if their minds don't collapse first. It really says something when a fantasy realm's drugs are more dangerous than its magic. 5U93R. Injustice franchise. This alternative DC tale imagines a world where Superman seizes absolute power to make people safer. Heading a group of rebels, Batman fashions a pill called 5U93R. The tablet imbues the user with strength and bone density to match the Man of Steel. Sure, it's a blatant plot device to service the gameplay. Injustice is a fighting game, after all. You shouldn't be able to win by simply picking Superman. However, this little pill has unsettling implications. 5U93R presents the same possibility as Venom and Compound V, but it multiplies the risks tenfold. Users don't just gain a small strength boost or some other random power. They basically turn into Superman. That means they could knock down a skyscraper with a quick flick. In addition, they can shrug off military-grade missiles like a mosquito bite. If anyone ever mass-produced this drug, the very earth would be torn asunder. So much for making people safer. And that was a terrifying trip through the worst fictional substances ever imagined. Seriously, can you imagine a world where people are hooked on Bane's venom or popping NZT 48 like candy? No thanks. But what do you think? Which fictional drug freaked you out the most? Or did we miss one that should absolutely be on this list? Drop a comment and let's discuss, safely, before you escape into an alternate reality. Like this video if you love wild sci-fi concepts, subscribe for more mind-blowing lists, and hit that notification bell before some mad scientist tries to make one of these real. Alright, I'm off to drink some water, because that's the only thing I trust now.